Okay, so for our second video, I'm actually going to get started by showing you how to run the exact same test that we just did for this example, but on your calculator. Your calculator will give you the p-value, degrees of freedom, and the chi-squared value, so it saves you a little bit of time in the do step. However, just remember that on any kind of test or free response portion, like with the AP exam, you're going to still need to show all of the work that I showed in the four-step process because you need to show the reader that you do know what you're doing. But the calculator is a helpful, quick place to go to double check your work. So if you haven't already done so, go ahead and take out your calculator. And I'm going to run the exact same test from this two-way table in the calculator. Okay? So here's the calculator. I'm just going to show you in one of the calculators because it's going to be the same. Doesn't matter which one you've got here. So just to remind you that when you hit the Stat button and you scroll over to Test, here are all the different tests. So you can start scrolling through here to try to see which one it is. It's a little bit further down. Option C, it says the chi-squared test. In fact, if you scroll down one further, it's the goodness of fit test. Well, unfortunately, if you have a TI-83 calculator, the goodness of fit test is not going to be on there. Most of you have the 84, and honestly, we really don't use the goodness of fit test very often anyways. The chi-squared test will run a test for any chi-squared test of homogeneity or independence, because as you probably saw in the notes we just took, that the tests are exactly the same. The only difference is how you take your sample and how you write your null and alternative hypothesis. But the actual do process is exactly the same. So this is the test that we're going to use. Now, we actually can't quite select this yet. I'm going to actually clear this out because I have to store my information somewhere in the calculator before running that function. So I'm going to hit second matrix. And you may not have these values here, but if you should have at least all these letters of the alphabet. We're going to choose the first option, A. Now what the 2x2 is saying is the size of your two-way table of information. Now ours is not a 2x2. Ours is a 3x4, 3 rows by 4 columns. So I'm going to scroll over to Edit. I'm going to hit Enter. And I'm going to edit this so that it's a 3x4 matrix. You'll see that they filled in zeros everywhere else. Now, I'm going to go ahead and type in my information. If I hit the first one, Math 2 Baseball 35, it goes across the row. So when you're typing it in, make sure you're typing in the values that go across the row. So those are all the values for Math 2. If I keep typing in 42, 25, 50, 29, those are all the Math 3 classes. And then 11, 21, 30, 21, those are the pre-calc classes. So once you have those stored in, you can go ahead and exit out of that. And we'll go back to the test. So I'm going to hit Stat, scroll over to Test. This time I'm going to scroll up because the chi-squared test is towards the bottom, so it's faster to get to this way. And I'm going to hit Enter. Okay. Now my observed is A, and that's where I put all my observed values into matrix A. Now you're probably noticing it says expected into matrix B, but we didn't type anything into B. That's okay. The calculator is actually going to save it all there for us. So if we scroll down and hit Enter, notice it gives you the chi-squared, the p-value, and the degrees of freedom. So these are all the exact same values that we got. Now the chi-squared is off just a little bit due to rounding error when we did it by hand, but there's all the exact same values there. Now the biggest chunk of work, in my opinion, is collecting the expected values, because for every single value you have to do row total times column total divided by grand total, and it just ends up taking a long time. Well, the calculator calculated all the expected values for you. So what we need to do is go back to matrix. So that's right here. If I go second matrix, here are the matrices. Now, if you remember, both of these said 2x2 before. This one somehow changed to a 3x4. That's because when we ran the chi-squared test, it calculated all of your expected values and it put it into matrix B for you. So all you got to do is scroll down and hit Enter, and then hit enter one more time, and there's all your expected values. Those are the first three. If you hit the arrow over, you can start seeing the rest of them. Okay, there's the next set, and the next set. Keep scrolling, and there you've got it. You've got all your expected values. You can scroll back and forth to see those. Okay, so hopefully that's a helpful little trick to being able to do some of the calculator work and double check your work. I know I said I was going to do this in 3 videos, but I've been having some technical difficulties. So I'm going to stop the video right here, and you guys can go watch the 3rd video to see the last bit of notes. Okay?